Welcome or welcome back. I'm so excited to share my latest American Girl DIY with you today. I'll include a list of materials at the beginning and at the end so that if you want to recreate this project, you'll have a handy shopping list. And please, if you enjoy this type of content, be sure to let me know. Like this video, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll always know when I upload a new video. Danny and Oliver are standing by and ready to help, so let's get started. For this project, I'm using two items from our generation, the stable and the diner. I got them both from Facebook Marketplace without their accessories for a pretty reasonable price. And I'm hoping to create something similar to this. I saved this photo over a year ago in hopes of trying my hand at it, and I cannot for the life of me recall where I saw it or who posted it. So if this is your handiwork, first of all, amazing. Second of all, please let me know so I can give credit where credit is due. This is gorgeous. The original pictures are clearly fall inspired, but I think the basic pieces and black and white color scheme could work for a lot of different themes. Personally, I'm going to go with a Christmas tree farm feel, at least to start with. Check back with me in February, it may be Valentine's Day themed. Here is a list of the materials I think you will absolutely need if you decide to do this. And here are some that you probably should have on hand, but they're not critical. To start, I'm going to disassemble the diner. You'll need a screwdriver or a drill to remove the screws. There are a lot of them. You won't need the screws from the bar area, but they're a different size than the ones from the table and chairs, so I recommend keeping them in separate labeled baggies. Start with the bar part. Now you can remove that piece, just cut the wires. I want to paint this teal jukebox an accent color, so I'm going to remove it next. You're looking at the underside of the table and one chair. Remove the screws under the table and pop the jukebox off. Slide the wires out or cut them. Since I want to paint this, I'm going to take it apart. I'll probably paint the heart-shaped button on the top of it or cover it in some cute washi tape. I went ahead and painted it since I'm only using this color once, or at least I think I'm only going to use it once. I covered the numbers, letters, and plastic window, so to speak, with painter's tape. Check out the cute washi tape heart. Is it perfect? Meh. Am I good with it? Yes. Now set the jukebox aside and return to this part. Lots to unscrew and separate. And you'll end up with this, the table, chairs, inner wall, and outer wall all separated. A quick note about the bar. You can see that mine was white with raised white hearts, and the one in the inspiration pictures has black hearts. I like the black ones, so I'm going to duplicate that, maybe with a black Sharpie marker. I will also need to paint the checkerboard base so that it's all black, but for now I'm just setting this whole thing aside. Set the baker case aside too. You'll want it later, but fortunately it's already good to go. The base is black, so this piece involves zero work. This last piece I don't need. In fact, I can't think of a single thing I'd use it on. For now though, I'm just going to set it aside. I don't need this piece, but maybe I'd end up using it for a future project. I don't know. Maybe I'll store it in the basement for a few months. The diner is now completely disassembled, and I'm going to turn my focus to the stable. From the inspiration pictures, it does not look like these middle pieces are going to be necessary. The pictures I'm basing this on don't include all these little pieces, but I tried removing them and they weren't budging, so I might be stuck with them. If that's the case, I'm going to paint them white and suck it up. Inspiration pictures show this piece removed, but I might leave it. The gate on the left is fine. The pictures also show these doors open completely, so I'm going to have to figure that out. Once you remove the doors, you'll notice that the shorter screws go to the doors and the longer ones go to the stable frame. It's kind of common sense, but just remember it for later when you put everything back together. Next, unscrew these. You can spray paint them black later. Remove the handles as well. You'll be spray painting those black too. I was planning to also remove this gate since it would make it easier to spray paint the wood white and the hinges black. But one of the screws was stripped pretty badly. If you're able to remove yours, go for it. But if not, don't sweat it. I worked around mine and I still love the end result. Now everything has been taken apart, and before I move on to painting, I want to fill in some of these holes. All right, it may not be perfect, but it's better than nothing. And I aim for excellence, but never perfection, because it makes my life a lot less stressful. Anyway, if you don't fill in the holes, it's not going to be the end of the world. If you do want to fill them in, you could use caulk like I did, or joint compound, or spackle, probably even white toothpaste. Just use whatever you have on hand or whatever's cheapest. A few words about the paint I used. I ended up needing 3 whole cans of white spray paint, which I did not expect. I happened to already have 2 of them, so I only needed to buy 1. And then I bought 1 can of black spray paint, and I used acrylic paint that I already had. Paint isn't cheap, and this project kind of added up, so if you need to buy paint, I recommend smaller tubes of acrylic than what you see in this picture. Also, the black spray paint shown here from Lowe's was only $2.50 compared to the $7 cans of white. They didn't have the cheap, like this economy spray paint in white, or I would have gotten it, but the coverage on the black cheapo paint was just as good, so save some money and get that brand for both the white and the black. There are apparently 2 versions of this diner, one that's all white and one that already has black hearts. I had the bad luck of getting an all-white one and wanting the hearts to be black, so I got to do this tedious task. So fun. But totally worth it. Here it is with the base painted black too. I used Sharpie for the hearts and acrylic paint for the base. Ooh, side note, if you bought used like I did, make sure you clean everything. This is gross. I'm planning to paint the beams black later, and I'll either paint the underside of the roof white or leave it as it is. I'm nowhere near done, but once I got a couple coats of white on it, I had to pause and put a few decorations inside just to get a sense of how great it's going to look when it's all done. But back to work. As far as the spray painting goes, it makes sense to me to start with the white since that's the bulk of the painting. So you'll need to cover the chair part in order to paint the seat backs white. I just slipped a piece of paper between the chair and the chair back, and then I folded the paper around to cover the actual seat. Use as much painter's tape as you need just to make sure everything's protected. When both chairs look something like this, you're ready to go. I also covered the blinds as you can see here on the left. Then the front and back walls of the dining area, the chair backs, the front doors of the stable, and the stable itself are all ready to get a few coats of white. You can go ahead and move on to the black spray paint if you want, but I figured I'd hand paint the roof while everything dried a bit more. I was able to use a sponge brush for the middle part of the roof, but I had to use a smaller brush to get into all the cracks and crevices of the tiles themselves. I also went ahead and hand painted the 2 beams up there. It required a small brush, a steady hand, and some patience, but turned out very well. By the time I finished the roof and the beams, all of the white stuff had dried. So on this wall and the chairs, I needed to switch up which parts were covered. Use paper towels or actual paper to cover the white parts, adding as much painter's tape as you need. And this is a good time to bring out the hinges and the other hardware too, so you can spray paint them black at the same time. I randomly opted to color all the screw heads with a black Sharpie, but if you prefer to spray paint them, that would certainly work. Make sure you spray both sides of the window and give the chairs a few coats to cover all that bright orange plastic. Now that all of the painting is done, it's time to consider options for the stable floor. I just grabbed what I had lying around from previous projects, but the options are really endless. You could use contact paper like this. Here's some more contact paper. I really like this one. Scrapbooking paper would also work, or peel and stick tile. Even painting the floor black or white or gray or something and putting a placemat down as a rug would be perfect. But this vinyl leftover from the bathrooms in our home is the clear winner for me. The only problem is that this scrap isn't wide enough to cover the whole stable floor. Lucky for me, I sometimes hang on to random scraps of stuff I think I might use later. So this plastic strip I found in the garage will cover the gap perfectly. Yay! Painting is done, flooring is done. Time to unwrap things and start putting it all back together. I found this little stool and decided to use it, by the way, but it's totally optional, obviously. It is so satisfying when things go as planned. That last video clip contains a pretty significant mistake. I showed screwing the inner and outer walls of the dining area together and then popping the table on. You actually need to pop the table on to the inner wall, and then there are two screws that you put in through the inner wall into the table and then put the outer wall on. If you don't do that, the table will fall off pretty easily because it's not absolutely secured. Now that I fixed that, everything looks great and is actually secure. Next come the two doors on the front of the stable. That should be easy, right? um, no, I had multiple failed attempts at getting the hinges on right. Let's just say if you decide to take this project on, you're going to benefit from my trial and error on more than one occasion. And it should be way less work for you than it was for me. This part went fine, kind of hard to mess it up. Same for the handles. In the next super short clip, you'll see my first failed attempt. It's a little too fast to follow along, so I'll explain where I went wrong. I was trying to make the hinges visible when the doors were opened wide, since that's how I plan on displaying this. So if you look at the hinges, one side has a single metal protrusion, cylinder, whatever, in the middle, and that side fits into the other half of the hinge, which has two protrusion cylinder thingies, one on each end. I'm going to call the single side A and the double side B. Anyway, my first attempt was to attach the B side to the door and the A side to the frame of the stable. It definitely wasn't going to work because I could not open the doors all the way. For the second failed attempt, I put the B side on the stable frame instead of the doors, and the A side on the side of the doors that would not be visible when they're open. Let's see how that worked out. The answer is it didn't. It didn't work out. The doors wouldn't open far enough at all. So the third attempt is to leave the orientation of the hinges, but drill new holes a little closer to the front edges of the stable so that the doors can clear those frame posts. Yes, You have to make new holes and make sure the hinges are screwed into the quote unquote front sides of the doors. Third time was definitely the charm. Now, the only thing that was still going to annoy me was the fact that these holes would be so visible when the doors are wide open. So I had an idea to use a hole punch and black cardstock to make fake grommets and glue them on top of the holes. Let's see how that works. From far away, it didn't really make a difference, but up close, it definitely makes things look more finished. And it was easy and essentially free, so I'm calling this a win. Hey, remember the diner floor I said I had no idea what to do with? It turns out it's perfect for entertaining a toddler. She loved working on her special projects, so I had to share her masterpiece. So here are the two main pieces with just a couple decorations because I wanted some sense of how it would all come together. But are you ready for the full reveal? Just take it all in. I decided to use the bench from Corinne's collection because we already owned it, but you could virtually use anything here. More trees, a fire pit, a table and some chairs. Just use what you have on hand. As far as the other things in this picture, the fake trees came in a 4-pack from Amazon, and the little metal buckets were in the Target Bullseye section. The pillows I made with material that we already had. The little curio cabinet thing in the back here was like $1.50 at a thrift store. I bought it with this project in mind, cleaned it, painted it, and filled it with whatever little things I could find that I thought were cute. The tiny trees up on the shelves are from Target. The bows are from the Dollar Tree, and I don't remember where we got the 6 miniature ornaments last year. But again, if you decide to do this project, don't stress about duplicating the decorations. I sure didn't. If you remember, the inspiration photos at the beginning of the video didn't even have all these hooks. I just got stuck with them because I couldn't get them off, so I improvised. And I'm happy with it. The Christmas Tree Farm sign was a free printable that I found online. I used brown cardstock, obviously, and put it on green cardstock to create a mat and add a little bit more color. Fill the bakery case with whatever you want. I chose pastries because I happen to have a lot of them on hand, but you could do tiny cookies. You could make some out of homemade Play-Doh. Get creative. I made the banner with scrapbooking paper and pinking shears. I just taped each of the triangles onto green embroidery thread and voila, it looks great. Other than the napkin dispenser, I didn't add anything here, but you definitely could. You could add placemats or place settings or even some mini Christmas lights or a wreath on the window. You could definitely do more with it than I did. And finally, here's a home for the holidays ornament, a small scarf that I folded to look like a throw blanket, some miniature trees from my mom's basement, and another metal bucket from the Target Bullseye section. The crate is from Michael's, and I believe the stand is also from Target. Here's your shopping list again in case you want to try this project. I am absolutely over the moon about how this turned out, but I would love to know what you think. Please let me know in the comments. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, thanks for watching.